4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Coming to you live. Lichtman live. Say what's up to the people, Dad.
Hey, welcome to our brilliant, inquisitive audience.
You always say that.
Something more than the usual pablum from the pundits.
Pablum? What is
pablum.
That? What does that mean?
That's like gruel, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know, insignificant stuff.
How'd you learn words like that? Like, I've never even come across that word in my life.
Well, that's why you're hanging out with me, to improve your vocabulary.
Right, but who did you hang out with to make your vocabulary so good?
My dad.
Oh.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, there's a lot going on.
Yes. Should we just get to our first topic?
Let's get right to it.
All right, our first topic is the Epstein Files.
Imagine that. Freddy Krueger has not gone away, has he? The nightmare on Elm Street continues.
Congress has approved the Epstein file bill, sending it to Trump's desk, a move that could force the release of thousands of Epstein-related records with redactions for victims. Dad, are we really going to get these files, do you think?
Very dubious.
Really? But the House and the Senate passed it, right? It's coming.
No.
Oh.
Maybe. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I think Trump will sign it.
Okay.
And I'll get to that whole rationale for Trump's turnaround. You don't want to use the word taco, right? Trump always caves or chickens out because we believe the Epstein files should be released and we welcomed these votes. Now, I did a commentary the other day for the BBC, which has the largest reach of any broadcast company.
But you usually pronounce it in a different way.
Right. Exactly.
Don't you say the world
service of the BBC?
That's
yes.
better, yeah.
This is before the vote, and I said they're going to pass it, but it's got a catch, and that is Trump is not going to be able to stop the Senate from passing it, and that happened. But there is a huge escape hatch, as I pointed out.
Okay.
And that's why I'm not confident we are going to ever see, at least anytime soon, well, Pam Bondi is Attorney General, who believes she's Trump's lawyers, not the people's lawyers, in contravention to her constitutional duty and internal memos of the Department of Justice. You know, she said, there's nothing in these files to suggest any need to investigate any unnamed parties. That is, anyone other than those who are named in the Epstein indictment, like Ghislaine Maxwell. And then within hours of Trump essentially instructing her to launch investigations, not of everyone mentioned in the files, but only the Democrats, not him, not his buddies like Steve Bannon. Within hours, she said, oh, yes, we're going to launch such an investigation. And here's the rub. Trump signs this, right, Sam?
Right.
And it says, you know, you got to release the files. Pam Bondi says, of course, but I can't. Because there's an ongoing investigation, and it is against Department of Justice policies to release information related to an ongoing investigation. We had one of these before, ordered by a Trump loyalist. Do you remember this, Sam? The so-called Dunham investigation, supposedly to investigate misconduct in the investigation of Russia's interference on behalf of Trump in 2016. It dragged on for years. And what did he come up with, Sam?
Tell me.
Diddly, in your words. Absolutely nothing of significance.
How do you know those are my words?
Because I've heard you use it before.
Oh, okay.
So it really doesn't matter whether they come up with anything. I don't think they will, but they could drag this out for years, not releasing anything. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but one thing I've always said about Trump, right?
Right.
He always leaves himself an escape hatch.
Right.
For example, in his hour-plus harangue inciting his loyalists to storm the Capitol and try to disrupt the counting of the Electoral College votes. Clear intent. He throws in a half sentence, you know, go demonstrate peacefully.
Right.
And he claims that half sentence exonerates the entire hour-plus harangue. When he first announced his candidacy and he said, you know, Mexico's sending us their rapists and criminals, he adds, but I'm sure there are some fine people.
Right.
Always leaves himself an escape hatch. And this is the escape hatch. He doesn't care whether that investigation is going to come up with anything, because it's not going to, except unless they have a bogus indictment like that of James Comey and Letitia James. But he doesn't care. This is his escape hatch. This gives Bondi an excuse not to release the material, or to release it in such a highly redacted form that it doesn't prove anything at all.
Right. So the House all the members of the House were able to save face. The Senate was able to save face. Now even Trump's going to save face, but at the midnight hour, Pam Bondi's going to come in and say, "Oh, whoops, we can't do this."
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's a real strong possibility. Either we can't release it, or release it in a form that it won't say anything. Right. Now let's go. We have to backtrack a little to understand what's going on here.
Okay.
This is the phoniest exercise in Republican transparency, maybe in the history of the country, at least since Richard Nixon and his cover-up of Watergate. For months, Sam, what were Trump and his allies doing with respect to the Epstein material?
They were saying it didn't exist.
Or everything in their power to try to prevent it from being released, calling it a Democratic hoax. At the 11th hour, Trump even called in Lauren Boebert into the White House with a meeting with Bondi and Kash Patel, another Trump loyalist, head of the FBI, most likely to try to persuade her to withdraw her signature, which would bring it below the 218 votes needed to force a vote in the House. So until the 11th hour, they were desperately using every possible measure to prevent transparency. Right. Then, just before the House vote, Trump sees the handwriting on the wall. And he knows that all his crying, all his tears are not going to wash away a single word that the House was going to vote for the release of the Epstein material, was going to vote for the legislation, and there was going to be a huge number of Republican votes for it. So all of a sudden, Trump turns around and says, "Oh yeah, I want to be in the interests of transparency, have these things released," only when he knew he couldn't prevent it. You've got to understand, with Donald Trump, everything is reflected in the prism of what is in it for him. And for months, he thought what would benefit him would be to suppress these files. Remember, even in the limited amount of material we've seen, which I'm told is a fraction of the total Epstein material, Trump was mentioned, you know how many times, Sam?
Tell me.
Over 1,000.
Whoa.
Some say over 1,500, depending on the count. Way more than any of the Democrats, he says, Pam Bondi should go after. So the last thing he wants is to release it. And he only has this phony pretend transparency, even though there is nothing that he can do about it, and he has created his escape hatch. And let's remember, it's not just the material that's been released so far from the Epstein, I think most of it's from the Epstein estate, that associates Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. They had a relationship going back to the 1980s, Sam.
What?
1980s. Before you were born.
Oh, my God.
I was already old then, but that's another story. They were photographed together numerous times. Trump invited Jeffrey Epstein to his second wedding, Sam, in 1993, to Marla Maples. A guy who he hardly knew. In 1993, he also sent this lewd outline of the silhouette of a woman, which said, quote, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey." And then Donald says, "Yes, we do. Come to think about it. Donald, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret."
Ew.
And
let me hold that up.
It's signed with his very distinctive signature.
People remember this, right?
Yeah, I have his signature. It looks just like that.
Right.
Experts have looked at it and said, yes, it closely resembles his signature. And it's, consistent with a guy who said, caught on tape, I can do anything I want with women because I'm a star, even grab them by their private parts. It's consistent with a guy who's been accused over 20 times of abusing and sexually harassing women. And that's not enough. 2002.
What? No, there's more?
2002.
Oh, my God.
According to New York Magazine, Donald Trump called Jeffrey Epstein, quote, unquote, a terrific guy.
Ugh.
And said, quote, he's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
Yuck.
So when you look at the full context, it is certainly quite plausible. Not necessarily that Donald Trump participated in sexual abuse, although there was at least one woman, Stacey Williams, who claims that he did, that he was introduced she was introduced to Donald Trump by Jeffrey Epstein, and Donald Trump groped her. We don't know if that's true or not, but there are so many stories like that. And he is found civilly liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll, defaming her and hurting her. So you got to look at the whole context here. This isn't Jimmy Carter who's being accused of this, right?
You said deflaming her.
Defaming her.
Is that when you
probably that
fire?
Too. Yes.
Okay.
So there's a whole context here that one has to look at, and it all fits together as a completed puzzle. You must understand that, and he's not fooling anyone.
Not me.
In the most recent polls, 60% of respondents said, yes, we believe Donald Trump knew about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. 15% said, we think he didn't know. That's 4-1, Sam.
Yikes.
You almost never see 4-1 in a poll. Another 24% said they weren't sure. But in terms of those who had an opinion, it's 60-15. 38%, not an insignificant number, a plurality, thought that he was guilty of participating in the abuse of younger women. So he's not fooling the American people. And you know who else he's not fooling, Sam? The survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
Here's Epstein abuse survivor Haley Robson speaking at a news conference right before the vote. And to the President of the United States of America, who is not here today, I want to send a clear message to you. While I do understand your position has changed on the Epstein Files, and I'm grateful that you have pledged to sign this bill, I can't help but be skeptical of what the agenda is. So that being said, I want to relay this message to you. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. You, meaning Trump, have put us through so much stress, including what's supposed to have happened 50 days ago, Adelita Grivalva, who wanted to get sworn in and then got upset when your party goes against you because what is being done is wrong. It's not right for your own self-serving purposes. This is America. That's a survivor. Another survivor, Jenna Lisa Jones, said, I beg you, President Trump, please stop making this political. It's not about you. You are our president. Start acting like it. Show some class. Show some real leadership. Yeah. Show that
you're to Trump. She realizes that, right?
Show that you actually care about people other than yourself. Was this some lunatic leftist, Sam?
No.
She said, quote, I voted for you. But your behavior on this issue has been a national embarrassment. He isn't even fooling members of his own party, who is perhaps the most right-wing member of the House, certainly one of them, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right?
Right.
One of Trump's staunchest allies has turned on him and attacked him, for his obstruction on the Epstein Files. So no one's being fooled by this claim that Trump is being transparent when he's done everything in his power until he couldn't stop it to halt the vote on releasing the Epstein material. But the drama is hardly over.
Really?
Because it remains to be seen what, if anything, will ever in the near future be released.
So, two scenarios for you. We know that Don is the Teflon Don. Every scandal seems to bounce off of him. Nothing takes him down. January 6th happened, and he's still our president, right? Two scenarios. Either they get released, right, or they don't get released. And then within that scenario, they get released, and it's kind of more the same, more embarrassing stuff for Trump, connections with Epstein, but no criminal behavior. Or maybe criminal behavior, right?
Depends if what they release is real.
Right. Obviously, if there is criminal behavior, that might take him down.
Correct.
But are any of those other three scenarios, stuff comes out, but it's just more the same, or they don't release the Epstein files, will that actually take down Donald Trump? I'm not convinced.
I don't know what take down Donald Trump means.
Right. It's pretty general, I guess.
Yeah. He's not going to be impeached.
Okay.
But it's not impossible if the Democrats take back the House, which is a better than 70% chance that they're going to do it, then he could get impeached. But the only way he takes down is through impeachment. But even if he's impeached, he's been impeached twice.
What about resignation?
He's never going to resign. He's not going to be convicted in the Senate. So the only thing that could take him down is his own health. Again, I'm not a physician. I'm not commenting on it as an expert, but just looking at him, he looks like someone who's got health issues. But let's leave that aside. It's not an issue of Trump resigning or being forced out. It's the cracking of his base, and even more importantly, the lack of motivation of the usually unmotivated voters who pushed him ahead in 2024. If Trump is even somewhat discredited by this, then he doesn't go anywhere. But Democratic prospects, like we saw in New Jersey, right, in Virginia, and in Georgia, where Democrats won 2 statewide elections for state positions they haven't won in many, many years. So the real fallout would be that it influences elections, that it undermines Republican prospects. And I think under either scenario, that's likely. And not only does 60% think Trump knew and 38% thinks he did something criminal, but his approval rating is collapsing. It's now below 40%. One poll had him, I think, something like 26% underwater. Averages have him close to 20% underwater. That's terrible poll ratings. And if it wasn't for very strong support among Republicans, who are a minority of the electorate, he'd be nowhere, because he's not only losing Democrats, he's losing independents big time. He can't win, as we learned in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, and Georgia. He can't win just with his base. He's got to turn independents. So this is a nightmare on Elm Street, maybe more for Republican Senate and congressional candidates than it is for Donald Trump. For the first time, there does seem to be a real possibility, it's a long shot, that the Democrats could even take back the Senate.
Now, there was an interesting interview with Mark Epstein, who's the older brother of Jeffrey Epstein, and he said that, one, Kash Patel is wiping all mentions of Trump and Republicans and, big donors, billionaires from the Epstein files. And he said, two, Jeffrey Epstein definitely didn't kill himself. Now, again, that's from him, not from us, but thought it was pretty interesting.
I wouldn't challenge either of those statements. I wouldn't validate them. But remember, one of the first things I warned about was that they were going to scrub Trump or redact Trump from the materials unless they get him directly from the Epstein estate before they can do that. Yeah, that would not surprise me at all. And I've always been skeptical. I have no proof. I don't have a strong opinion one way or another, but I've always been skeptical about whether Jeffrey Epstein actually committed suicide.
All right. Anything else to add? Or are you ready for the next topic?
I'm ready for my drink.
Oh.
And then I'm ready for the next topic. Okay. Oh, good work.
Unfortunately, I tore my hamstring.
Yeah. We have 2 invalids here.
Yeah.
I'm recovering from total shoulder replacement surgery. And Sam?
I tore my hamstring. It's a grade 1, so it's like the lowest level of hamstring tear you can have. But
nobody wants a hamstring.
Nobody wants a hamstring tear, and it hurt. I mean, the first day I couldn't even walk. I've gotten a lot better though. But I did it doing something a little silly. I challenged my dad to time me on a 40-yard dash in a park
without warming
up
on an uneven surface
in the cold. And I started sprinting. I was doing fine, but we're in the park and my dog was there off leash, and I guess he thought we were playing, and he ran after me. And right about 10 yards from the end, he clipped my right shoe, and I kind of went off balance, and
it was quite a tumble.
Pulled my hamstring and fell over. You thought I was playing.
I thought you were playing with Kiko.
I was on the ground writhing in pain.
Yeah.
Anyways, our next topic. Trump defended Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman when asked about the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, saying, quote, this is a quote from Trump, "A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he, Mohammed bin Salman, knew nothing about it. You don't have to embarrass our guest."
Yeah, he treated this dictator,
that's
and he is a dictator.
That's a crazy quote.
Crazy.
That's crazy. Do you ever think you'd see the day when an American president was defending the chopping up of a journalist? It's crazy.
A journalist who wrote for an American newspaper.
Right.
Wasn't writing in Saudi or anywhere in the Middle East. He was writing for the Washington Post. But let me back up a second. Trump gave him the ultimate red carpet treatment, treating him like he was Winston Churchill, some great paragon of freedom and democracy. He's a dictator.
Trump loves MBS.
He loves dictators because, he emulates them. He loves MBS. Treated him like, some paragon of democratic virtue when he's just the opposite. And moreover, there's tremendous conflicts of interest here, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Trump has all kinds, and his family. Let me say the Trump organization. He likes to distance himself from it, but he's going to get all the profits, whether he gets them right now or later. Doesn't matter. Kushner, his son-in-law, got a $2 billion investment from the Saudis. There are all kinds of Trump organization business deals that have to do with the Saudis. This is the kind of conflict of interest that infects presidential policy, that smacks of buying influence and trading on influence. It should never happen. And we've never seen anything quite this blatant before in the American presidency. Now let's look at what Trump said. Things happen, right? That's like losing your jacket on a cold day.
Not being chopped up and put into a suitcase.
Exactly. How crass, how cruel, how inhumane can you possibly be by describing a murder, dismemberment, stuffing the body in a suitcase and burying it God knows where? Things happen. Then he said, right, that, MBS is a great guy. He had nothing to do with it. Directly contradicting his own intelligence service. Not again some lunatic left-wingers. His own intelligence service, which said, with a high degree of confidence, I'll repeat that, because different intelligence assessments have different levels of confidence, high degree of confidence, that not only did MBS know about the murder and the dismemberment, but he ordered it. He ordered it. And what evidence did Trump put forward to contradict that?
None.
He just simply said, he had nothing to do with it.
I found MBS's answer really interesting too. He kind of fumbled around and was like, we investigated that and everything's fine.
Yeah. Have the criminals investigate themselves and exonerate themselves. How ridiculous can you possibly be? And if you know anything about Saudi society, is it an open society, Sam?
No.
Nothing goes on, particularly at a level like that in Saudi Arabia, without the okay of the man on the top. But there's more.
Oh.
Yeah. There was a woman who asked a question. A reporter, I think she was from Bloomberg, during the meeting with MBS, and I think she asked Trump something about the Epstein Files. And Trump got so indignant because he didn't want to answer any such questions that he said he wants his FCC director to look into, get this, taking out the broadcasting license for ABC.
Yeah, it was
should be,
ABC News.
quote, taken away because he didn't like a question, a perfectly legitimate question that he was asked by a reporter. And here's the irony. He's sitting next to a guy who runs a society. Where is there journalistic freedom?
No.
None. Journalists are in jail in Saudi Arabia.
And chopped up.
Yes, in one case, chopped up for writing or speaking out and criticizing the government, even calling for reform. There is no journalistic freedom. Journalists risk getting killed, if you look at the Khashoggi example, and certainly are jailed, imprisoned, without due process, simply for criticizing the government or even calling for reform. So here is the irony of Trump sitting next to this dictator and emulating him in trying to squelch a broadcast outlet simply because the reporter didn't accuse him of anything, just asked him an uncomfortable question.
It was, I lost it now. I had the name of the reporter. It was ABC News.
ABC News. Yes.
Mary Bruce from ABC
News. And another reporter from Bloomberg asked him a question that he didn't like. And he said, "Quiet piggy." This is not atypical. Trump continually puts down, demeans women reporters, demeans them for their looks or any other way in which he demeans them when they ask him a question that he doesn't like. Can you imagine Barack Obama saying that to a reporter, or any other president for that matter, other than Donald Trump?
No, none.
It's unthinkable. It's just unthinkable misogyny and abuse of the presidency.
All right. You ready for the next topic?
I'm always ready.
A federal judge in the Comey case has blocked an order that would have forced the DOJ to hand over grand jury evidence, calling the demand improper and warning of investigative missteps.
Yeah, this judge, who's a magistrate judge, absolutely blasted Pam Bondi's Justice Department and her hand-picked special attorney in the Special U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, who, by the way, how many cases had she prosecuted before this one?
5 trillion.
Yeah. 5 trillion minus 5 trillion.
Oh.
None. And there's real questions about whether she was even legally appointed because the 120 days for an interim appointment had expired. And, there's a good case to be made. She had to be approved by the Senate. It never was. But aside from the questionable appointment, this magistrate judge blasted what Halligan, working for Bondi's Department of Justice, her misconduct in bringing this indictment. Quote, having been requested by the government to review the grand jury materials, the court has identified 2 statements by the prosecutor to the grand jurors that on their face appear to be fundamental misstatements of law that could compromise the integrity of the grand jury process. Do you hear that, Sam? Mm-hmm. Fundamental misstatements of the law. And whether that was deliberate in their zeal to get this indictment through, no matter how flimsy it was. Remember, the experienced prosecutor who had been the U.S. attorney got forced out, right? Because he wouldn't indict because he said there's no case there. The magistrate judge went on to write, quote, the court recognizes that the relief sought by the defense is rarely granted. That is a dismissal for prosecutorial misconduct. He goes on to say, however, the record points to a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps that led an FBI agent and a prosecutor to potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceedings. That's pretty strong language from a federal judge. You almost never hear language like that, especially directed against the Department of Justice, although we've heard it a number of times directed against Pam Bondi's Department of Justice. So the higher judge, the actual federal court judge, has stayed the ruling of the magistrate judge to turn over the grand jury materials. Doesn't mean that it won't happen. It just means more time is given for the developments and arguments. But based on what is already seen, he's talking about profound misconduct, fundamental misstatements of the law. So it seems to me that this politically driven indictment with the flimsiest of evidence, if you looked at what is actually being charged as something that they claim, he lied about something that he said years before in response to a very ambiguous question. It's a complete, politically driven indictment. But leave that aside. When we're talking about misstatements of law, profound misconduct, I don't think this indictment is gonna last.
And our final topic before we go to questions. Remember, our questions come from our members and donators. A panel of federal judges have blocked Texas's new congressional map for the 26 elections, ruling it violates the Voting Act's right by diluting Latino and black voting power.
I'm not going to comment on the substance because I can't.
Oh.
But I will comment on the politics of this.
Okay.
Which has nothing to do with the substance of the ruling. I warned, right, that this gerrymandering was a risky business. Once you start a war, Sam, do you know what the outcome is going to be?
No.
No. The outcome is uncertain. Trump started the gerrymandering wars by pressuring Governor Abbott of Texas to rewrite an already gerrymandered plan to give the Republicans 5 more districts. That began this whole process that later, in retaliation, led Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, to start a process enabling California to offset what Texas was doing. But it started in Texas. And now a court has said, you can't do it. This is racially gerrymandering. You cannot use this plan. It's unconstitutional. Now, they're, of course, appealing to the Supreme Court. And 3 things can happen. 1, Supreme Court won't take it. 4 things. 2, it takes it and overturns the stay. 3, it takes it and sustains the stay. Or 4, it takes it and it deliberates so long that it's too late to overturn the stay, because I think the process for the primaries in Texas begins December 8th, just in a few weeks. They would have to rush a ruling through to accommodate that. They may. Who knows? They've been, very deferential to Trump on this so-called rocket docket. But this now raises the real possibility that the war Trump started politically, he may lose. He may lose the 5 seats in Texas, and lo and behold, Gavin Newsom gets the 5 Democratic seats. Remember, these are only purported. They're not guaranteed. But, the 5 seats they were trying to get in Texas, they can try to get, whereas Newsom can try to get 5 Democratic seats in California. Plus, other states have refused to heed Trump's call for redistricting. I think Indiana and Kansas, 2 solidly red states, have said, no, we are not going to do mid-decade redistricting, which is very rare.
Actually, we have one more topic. Sorry, I said last one was our final one. We have one more. The Trump administration unveiled a sweeping plan to dismantle the education department, shifting major federal responsibilities to the states and eliminating key civil rights functions.
This is just a disaster for American education, which we know Trump had been warring on in many, many other ways, including pressuring colleges and universities to adhere to his politically driven conservative orthodoxy in their policies and teaching. So what he's done is he has transferred 6 offices within the education department to other agencies that have no expertise, no experience. He's also taken funds that go to low-income schools, and my understanding is given them to the states, and God knows what's going to happen there, and even transferred at least 2 functions. Get this, Sam. What is the most incompetent agency headed by the most incompetent secretary? There's a couple to choose from, but...
RFK Jr.
Yes.
Aha!
Yes. He's sending child care access and foreign medical school accreditation to the Department of Health and Human Services. And he sent the Office of Indian Education to the Interior Department, which has a notoriously bad record in dealing with Indian issues, and international education, foreign language initiatives, and research programs to the State Department, which has been dismantling foreign aid programs of all kind. And he's done all this without the consent of Congress, even though Congress established the Education Department. It was not established by executive order of the president.
Okay, with that, we will get to our question portion of Lichtman Live. Before we do that, I got to get him a soda.
Yes. I can't reach with my...
Right, with your shoulder. A couple housekeeping things. We've got 1,400 people watching, but only 400 likes. Come on, guys. Throw the stream a like. It helps us a lot. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Click that notification bell so you know we're live.
Join as a member.
Join as a member, and your question might get on air. Think about that for a second, Dad.
You'll have your questions more thoroughly answered than anywhere else.
Rachel Maddow's not answering questions on air.
No.
Sean Hannity's not answering questions on air.
What's his not Austin?
Chris Hayes.
Chris Hayes.
Yeah.
Lawrence O'Donnell's not answering.
Cuomo's not answering live on air. I guarantee you Jake Tapper is not answering your questions live on air. I guarantee it. Just
but I am. Let's
he
go.
Is. That's the point, right? Where's my
and remember, become a member. It costs
less than a milkshake. I knew you were going to say that.
And it helps us out a lot.
This is from member Comic Fan. They say, would the Epstein Files give Trump the scandal key, or I guess turn the scandal key against the Republican Party, since he may have been involved?
There's no giving the scandal keys, whether the scandal key turns against the White House party, and it's certainly possible. Depends what's in this material and whether we ever really get it in a proper form. But if it implicates him in criminal activity, that certainly could turn the scandal key. You know, I don't like to answer hypotheticals, but I'll go at least that far. Remember, already, before this material's out, 38% of poll respondents said they believed he was engaged in illegal activity.
There's still a long way to go with this Epstein stuff.
It's the nightmare on Elm Street. It's going to drag out for years.
Yikes. Have you heard about how the residents of Charlotte, North Carolina are responding to ICE by supplying migrants with food so they can stay home and evade capture, as well as other measures that will help? We're learning, but will it ever end?
You know, grassroots resistance is very, very important. And I commend the people of Charlotte who are engaging in this kind of critical grassroots resistance and protection. Let's not forget, you know, undocumented immigrants don't live in some isolated community with a big sign, right, Sam? Undocumented immigrants lived here. They are mingled within the population. They're married to U.S. citizens. They have kids who are U.S. citizens. And by the way, we know ICE has not been entirely scrupulous in targeting only undocumented immigrants. So these raids with these masked agents, heavily armed, sweeping into our communities, disrupts everything. It's not just the undocumented immigrants. And let me remind you, you know, I cannot stress this too often. Trump said, I'm going after the worst of the worst. Well, the information we have, over 70% have no criminal convictions. And the great majority of the rest have for minor offenses. Very few of those detained and arrested and detained have convictions for any kind of serious violent crime.
And don't forget, too, that all the stuff they've been telling you about immigrants, illegal immigrants, are myths. I have a video about that on my channel right here.
Fabrications.
This is in regards to the Texas gerrymandering overturned by a judge.
Three judges.
Three judges.
Three-judge court, 2-1 decision, written by a judge appointed by...
Let me get to the question.
Oh.
Trump.
I wanted to give a little background.
Trump.
Written by a judge appointed by...
Trump.
All right, now I'll get to the question.
All right, this is from Philip H. They say, next, this goes to SCOTUS. If SCOTUS doesn't overturn, do you think Dems will cower as usual and forego redrawing their maps?
No, I don't. Newsom is not... The biggest thing is California, where potentially 5 seats are at stake. Newsom does not strike me as someone who's going to back down on this. I think he's going to go ahead and implement the redistricting plan. He already has the constitutional amendment behind him. 60% voted for him, so he has a public mandate to do so. No, I don't believe Newsom is going to back down.
No, I won't back down.
No.
Oh. Professor, what do you think are the chances of the voter-approved California redistricting plan being overturned in light of the Texas gerrymandering being blocked?
I can't comment on the substance of any of these plans or the rulings, but I'll just say, as a casual observer, it's probably unlikely.
Gotcha. This is from member Hillary Stanton. They say, what do you think about Trump suing the BBC? The edition of Panorama in question, where Trump's speech on January 6th was spliced and edited, altering his message, was a mistake, but wasn't even broadcasted in the U.S. What gives Trump the right to go after a broadcaster outside of the U.S.?
Well, I'm not a lawyer.
Yes, you... Okay, I'm sick of that. It's time for you to go to law school and become a lawyer for the sake of the show.
All right, we'll have to put the show off for 4 years.
Okay.
But I'm not certain about whether he could sue a UK company. He probably can. Whether the suit is going to have any merit whatsoever is very questionable. It's a very high bar because of a Supreme Court decision to successfully sue a media outlet, whether a newspaper or a broadcast outlet. When Trump has won these suits, it's because companies have caved to him. They don't want to go through it. But throughout his history, he has a history littered with miserable failures in going after journalists and media outlets. But it's a great scare tactic, and of course he's hoping they'll cave, like Disney did.
You ever watched the Great British Bake Off before?
You asked me that once before, and my answer is no.
Oh, it's one of my favorite shows.
Am I missing something?
It's one of my favorite shows.
Wow.
Yeah.
How come I never see any of these British bakery stuff around here?
Good question.
All
I guess
right,
because it's in
get
Britain.
on it.
I guess because it's in Britain.
Yeah.
Professor, you have long said that Dems should focus on good governance rather than the polls. If I'm not mistaken, Karen Bass, the 43rd mayor of LA, just said the following, quote, "The future of the Democratic Party is local. Good governance at the local level has never been more important. It's where the abstract becomes concrete, where ideas become outcomes." Do you agree?
Yes. Although you can't ignore national issues, but, to the extent that I think these days there's a real confluence between local and national issues. The example would be prices. Prices is an intentionally local issue. People go to their local supermarket and other outlets, but to a great extent, prices are being driven by what Trump is doing in national policy. But I think that's a pretty astute statement. But I don't agree entirely that all politics is local.
I gotta say, I don't know, Karen Bass, there are some improvements that need to happen in LA for sure. I mean, LA is a big project, no doubt, but still, I find that a little interesting coming from Karen Bass, but
you probably know her better than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in the city for over a year, so I know it pretty well. I just wanted to show the folks this. You were saying, why don't I bake? I do bake.
He does bake, and he bakes well.
Here's me. I baked a blueberry pie. So
it was awesome. I don't know if it was British Bakery, but it was great.
I don't know. What does that mean? You don't know if it's British? It's just a
British
show.
Bakery recipe that you got from the show.
I don't remember where I got it, but
it was great.
Yeah.
And you still owe me a steak.
Oh, yeah. I had to cook him a steak because he got his sling off.
Yeah.
All right. This is a $5 donation from Turbid TG1. Don't the survivors' lawyers and the Epstein estate, aren't they able to fill in the blanks if they try to scrub Trump's name? Don't they have copies?
I don't know if they have copies. They probably don't have comprehensive copies. And already, as I said, one woman has come out and claimed, and it's kind of gotten buried in the Epstein story, that Epstein took her to Trump Tower, introduced her to Trump, and he unwantedly groped her. I don't know what other stories the survivors may have to tell.
Couldn't they also potentially still be sued if they're leaking redacted information from the Department of Justice?
If they talk about their own personal experiences, they cannot be sued.
Okay, gotcha. All right. This is from Miles Wolfe. For decades, we have seen the parties become even more divided, but is our politics now beginning to become mixed as it once was?
Well, you're right. Our politics has become much more divided. If you go back even to the Nixon era, there were lots of liberals on the Republican side, or at least somewhat liberal, Rockefeller Republicans, and there were the blue dog conservative Democrats, particularly Southern Democrats. So there was a mix. Now, if you look at the two parties, the most conservative Democrat is still more liberal than the most liberal Republican. Now, there may be some minor suggestions that that's going to change, but I haven't seen hard evidence of it.
Gotcha. Mitch Huberick just donated $2 and said they want to know your hair routine.
My hair routine?
Yeah, your hair is so nice. They want to know, like, do you condition? What kind of shampoo do you use? Drop the tea, Dad.
Oh my gosh!
I don't think he has.
About it.
I don't think he has a very in-depth hair routine. I think it's just mostly genetics.
I think it's mostly genetic, and I always tell people.
Tell them.
You want to live to a successful old age, the one most important piece of advice I have for you is regular aerobic exercise. You don't have to go out for the Senior Olympics or anything like that. It doesn't matter what you do, whether it's running or walking or tennis or pickleball or racquetball. It doesn't matter. 80% is just getting out and doing something aerobic regularly. Now, the other 20%, if you want to compete, is really hard, but you don't need that.
Right.
Just regular aerobic exercise, and I contribute my hair a lot to that. I just use regular shampoo and regular conditioner, nothing.
Wow.
But I have a great hairdresser.
Right, that is true. You think that's his real hair color? I got a bridge to sell you.
Hey, don't be a wise guy.
He does have real hair.
The hair is real.
He does have real hair, but the color is not. I've also heard that there's more evidence that resistance training, lifting weights, is actually just as good for you as cardio training.
Is that right?
That's what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
Do both.
Anything.
Do both.
Right,
do a little both. Go for a run on Monday.
I do both. Twice a week.
Lift on Tuesday. Go for a walk on Wednesday.
Yes.
Play tennis on Thursday. Squat on Friday.
Right. It's all good. Doesn't matter what you do.
This is a $10 donation from our good friend Philip H. They say, watching in dread as MAGA has begun to decay further, ousting the likes of Ben Shapiro and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Instead, Nick Fuentes' faction is growing. Do you foresee MAGA going further right?
Does seem to be the case. It's really frightening. Not only did Tucker Carlson, a darling of the far right, give Nick Fuentes, a notorious anti-Semite, racist, Holocaust denier, a platform with a softball interview, but the head of the Heritage Foundation seemed to defend it. Now he's in hot water. He may even have resigned. But let's not forget, right from the beginning, the neo-Nazi, neo-Klan, anti-Semitic groups have cheered and supported the election of Trump. It's just becoming more and more obvious as the movement does seem to be moving more to the extremes. And it's an extremely frightening thing and totally ironic, of course, because Trump is using supposedly opposition to anti-Semitism to go after colleges and universities. It's just a horrible pretense in a movement that seems to be shot through with anti-Semitism.
All right, let me grab his. We're sort of far away from the desk here. That's why I have to lean every single time.
You have to lean. I can't.
We have 1,500 people watching, Dad.
Nice.
We've got 745 likes. Make sure you like the stream. It really helps us a lot. So if you're one of those 1,500 people and you're sitting there, it's free. It doesn't affect anything. It won't screw up your algorithm. You know, just give us a like. It'll help a lot. And I'm asking, there's 1,500 people watching.
I'm done with it.
You just dropped it on the floor.
Just get out of the way.
Okay. There are 1,500 people watching. If there's an episode that we did recently that you really like, or if there's a clip that we posted recently that you really like, share it. Share it to your social medias, to Instagram, to Facebook. Share it on Reddit if there's certain Reddit pages that you like. If there's certain Facebook groups that you are a part of. Share some of our stuff. If every single one of you shared one of our recent episodes or one of our recent clips that you'd like, that would be amazing.
What about our ad?
That's not tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We have an ad coming soon. But no free ads.
No.
So we're not saying a word.
No.
How many more questions do you want?
How much time do we have?
We got about, it's 9:53.
Oh, I can do 3 or 4 more questions.
Okay. This is from Michael Gonzalez, they say. If you could have a conversation with any U.S. president, who would it be?
Thomas Jefferson.
Wow.
Thomas Jefferson may not have been our greatest, most extraordinary president, but he was the most extraordinary person ever to become president. He was a political philosopher, a naturalist, a diplomat, an educator, and very few people know one of the most creative architects of our time. John F. Kennedy had gathered a dinner in his presidency of a few dozen Nobel laureates, and he said, more brain power has been gathered this evening in the White House than ever before, except when Thomas Jefferson dined alone.
Right. He was kind of racist, though, wasn't he?
He was terribly racist. So were they all.
But
George
he was
Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe, James Madison, all slaveholders.
Right, but he was pretty bad. Like,
he was bad. He exploited one of his women slaves, Sally Hemings, and even had children with her. He was a pretty bad racist, yes, and a misogynist.
Right.
But nonetheless, you know, what he did and what he represented kind of, in a sense, does and does not transcend that. That's why he's one of the more controversial figures in American history, you know.
Right.
You can debate his greatness and you can debate his baseness.
Right. I think that's a conversation a lot of Americans are having.
And I'd love to talk to him about that.
Oh, good point.
That's one of the reasons I'd love to talk to Thomas Jefferson.
I think it's a debate we've been having as Americans for a while. Unfortunately, the right has just stomped it out and says, you're woke. We're not even discussing it. But yeah, like, how do you deal with people like Thomas Jefferson who have some ideas that are genius, but are also have some ideas that are purely racist, you know? How do you deal with figures like that?
In practice, was a racist.
Right. All right. We'll do this as our final question. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Or do you want to keep going?
No, I can do 2 more.
2 more. All right. We haven't talked about this a lot, but this has been popping in and out of the news. This is from one of our very intelligent members, Patrick Murray.
Oh, yeah. We love him.
They say, I fear the looming U.S. war in Venezuela is coming to a boiling point because Trump said that he has not ruled out sending troops there. War is the culmination of nationalism because a political party becomes so extreme due to political division and scapegoating that they practically erase checks and balances to achieve their goals. Are we at that point?
Well, he's already pretty much erased checks and balances. Right. Whether or not he goes into Venezuela, I think will be determined, as always with Trump, transactionally. Will it benefit me more to go into Venezuela or not? It won't be based upon any kind of strategic or a decision designed to promote democracy or human rights. It'll be based on what's good for him. And it's very hard to know. It doesn't matter what he says. He'll contradict what he says, in the next 24 hours. Keep your eye on whether or not he believes he needs this distraction. I think you said you didn't see the movie Wag the Dog. Right?
No.
But it's about starting a phony war to distract from the problems of a president at home. I'm not saying Trump's going to do that, but I wouldn't necessarily put it past him.
All right, we're at 850 likes. Let's try to get to 1,000
right?
likes by the end of this episode. Come on, guys. We can do it. Okay, this question is from member 2009 KY Gal. They say, I'm reading your book, Dr. Lichtman. Oh, this one. Anybody could go buy this right now.
Right now.
There's this thing
you
called
buy it at one click.
There's a thing called the internet. And on the internet has turned into a marketplace. And on this marketplace, you can sell books. And you can go buy this book right now on the internet. Right?
As far as I know, I'm an old dinosaur,
Right.
but I bought books on the internet.
If he can do it, if he can do it, anybody can do it.
Anyone can do it.
Anyways, they say, I'm reading your book, and it's every bit as good as I expected it to be. You outdid yourself.
Wow.
Did you see...
Can we patent that review?
I guess so.
Yeah.
They say, do you see Trump's behavior towards Venezuela as a saber rattling towards an increasingly Chinese presence in South America, or is he seriously intending to buck the will of his Republican Party and his military and put boots on the ground there? Or is invading Mexico more of a threat?
Oh,
wow,
my God.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I think invading Venezuela is probably more of a threat than invading Mexico. And by the way, thank you for the outstanding review. I am very proud of this book. I think, the respected library journal says it's a must for anyone who wants to understand American history or current politics, both. That's what it's all about. It goes back to 100 years to explain where we are now. So I wouldn't put Trump past anything if he believes it's going to benefit him, particularly if he believes there's going to be a rally around the flag effect that you sometimes get when you start military action, or distraction from all his other troubles, the Epstein Files, the cracks in his base, the high prices, the bad economy, the excesses of ICE, his terrible approval ratings. He has so much to distract from. But, I think if he does, it's going to be another disaster like the Iraqi war, for which there was really no basis either.
What do you think about this idea of him worried about the Chinese presence in South America? I haven't heard much about that.
I don't think that's part of his calculation. I mean, he may use that as an excuse, but I don't think that's what's driving him.
913 likes. We are less than 100 likes away from 1,000 likes.
Got to get there.
I know we can do it. All right, let's keep going then. How
and
about
if
that?
if you can become a member or give us a donation, it would really help. One more question. This is from Sean Matthew. They say, how did government control over curriculum under Castro affect academic freedom and critical thinking in Cuban schools? There wasn't any.
Right.
In dictatorships like the Cuban dictatorship, there is a party line. And in pretty much total control nations like that, there is no academic freedom. There is a party line, and you adhere to it.
Now, I've heard people like Bernie Sanders who don't go as far as defending Cuba, but I often hear them say, well, one good thing about Cuba is that they educated the entire population.
That is true. There are a couple of good things about Cuba. There is a lot of education and a lot of health care, apparently.
Right. But
we're talking about something else, talking about, freedom of speech, academic freedom. That's different.
Right.
It's a repressive society, although they do take care of its people in a certain way.
In a certain way. And it feels like, well, if you're compromising education, but you're educating everybody, then you're still compromising. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's not just the volume of education, it's what's being taught.
Right. All right, we're at 961 likes, 39 likes, and we will hit 1,000. 965 likes.
All right.
We're getting so
does that
close.
mean I need to answer one more question?
No, we'll do your final words to the people.
All right. My final words are, don't believe for one moment that Trump and his allies are after transparency. It's just a total fake. They're just bowing to the inevitable and then trying to salvage a bit of credibility on transparency. But the American people aren't buying it, and most critically, the survivors are not buying it, and neither should you.
That's pretty good. Last minute 5 donation from Mitch. Unfortunately, Mitch, we're not going to be able to get to that.
We need those donations.
Arash Taheri here for today, 42. And Mitch, thank you guys for your donations. Let me check. You all right? Your shoulder hurts?
Yep, a little bit.
All right. You want to get up and go?
No, I'm good.
We're at 992.
All right, let's get over the top.
8 more.
And
we're at 1,000.
You got to do it.
You got to do it.
It's really
996.
4 more.
4 more years, not for Trump, though.
No. Well, it wouldn't be 4 anyway. He's already used up a lot of his first year.
Good point.
4 more. Come on.
I know there's 4 of you out there sitting there listening to us right now thinking, 1,000.
1,000.
We did it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you for watching, for supporting the show. 1K. We did it. Thank you all. And good night.
Good night.